Liam's hands are shaking as he opens the door to Fruit Haven headquarters. It's been 3 years. 3 years since Sophie Miller walked away. 3 years since he sat in that auditorium and watched her defend herself while he stayed silent like a coward. 3 years in Tokyo trying to become someone who deserved a second chance he'd never get. Now he's back. And Sophie? She built an empire from the fruit stall he once bought for 500. Oh, but here's what kills him. The company he's looking at, the renovated warehouse, the hand-painted sign, the photographs of weddings and galas, was built on the opposite of everything he offered Boyer. Not charity, not pity, not rescue, dignity, work, pride. She did this without him. And when she appears in the doorway, dressed in casual business attire, hair down, no smile, just calm assessment, he realizes something that makes his throat close. She's not the girl he remembers. That girl was vulnerable, struggling, afraid. This woman is untouchable, successful, whole. Mr. Carter, you mentioned expanding the partnership. What did you have in mind? Her voice is professional, distant, like he's just another client. Sophie, business first. That's how this works now. And Liam understands. The girl he broke, she stayed broken just long enough to rebuild herself into someone he can't afford to lose twice. They say love finds you when you're ready. But what if it finds you when you're counting coins, fighting for tuition, and absolutely not looking? What if the person who changes your life is the one you swore you'd never need? Fresh oranges, apples, get your fruit here. Fresh oranges, sweet mangoes. Sophie Miller's voice cut through the afternoon noise outside the university gates, her hands moving quickly as she rearranged the pyramid of peaches that kept threatening to collapse. Need fruit? Fresh picked this morning. A group of students passed without looking. Another shook his head. No thanks. Already ate. Too expensive. She wiped sweat from her forehead and checked her phone. Still $40 short of this week's tuition payment. 3 more hours until her evening class. A guy in a polo shirt grabbed an apple, bit into it, then tossed 50 cents on the table. Wait, that's $2, Sophie called out. He turned back annoyed. 50 cents is enough. The grocery store sells these for $1. Then go to the grocery store, Sophie said calmly, palms still extended. You just ate my inventory. What a ripoff. You're a profiteer. And you're a thief. Pay or give it back. You can't make me... A shadow fell across the stall. How much for the entire table? Sophie looked up. Designer watch, tailored suit, the kind of guy who thought money solved everything. Depends, she said coolly, not missing a beat. Are you planning to eat them or just show off? Scattered laughter rippled through the small crowd that had gathered. For a moment, the man just stared at her, half surprised, half impressed. I'll take everything, he said, pulling out his wallet. Every basket, every bag, how much? Sir, that's 300, 500. Keep the change. He placed crisp bills on her wooden table. And give everyone here a free piece of fruit, my treat. Hello, everyone. If you love touching love stories, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell. It's free and helps us keep this channel alive with more emotion-filled tales. Let us continue. The crowd erupted. Free fruit? Seriously? Who is this guy? Thank you, sir. Sophie's hands trembled as she started handing out apples and bananas to the growing line of students. Her entire day's stock, gone in minutes, but paid for, fully paid for. She glanced at the man in the suit. He hadn't moved, just stood there watching her work, a strange expression on his face. Thank you, she said quietly when the crowd finally dispersed. He nodded. What's your name? Does it matter? It does to me. She hesitated. Sophie Miller. Liam Carter. He extended his hand. She didn't take it. Goodbye, Mr. Carter. Hey, my precious family. I love you more deeply than words can say. You're my joy, my inspiration, and the reason my heart stays full. May heaven's light guide your path every day. May love surround your mornings. Peace comfort your nights, and happiness fill every step you take. You are blessed, protected, and never forgotten. Thank you for your love and loyalty. We rise together. Drop your location in the comments and let's know where you are watching from. Liam returned to his car, where his friends Tyler and Jason were doubled over laughing. Did she just reject your handshake? Tyler howled. The great Liam Carter. Refused. Who is she? Liam asked, ignoring them. Jason pulled out his phone, already typing. Sophie Miller, finance major, works part-time selling fruit to cover tuition. Lives off campus with some roommate. Dude, why do you care? I don't. You bought $500 worth of fruit. It was for charity. Since when do you do charity? Tyler smirked. Admit it, you're interested. Liam looked back at the now empty stall. Sophie was packing up, efficient and unbothered. She's different. Different? Jason leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Liam Carter, the guy who's turned down models and heiresses, is interested in a fruit seller? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. It's written all over your face. Tyler grinned. Let's make this interesting. I bet you can't even get her to agree to one lunch. That's ridiculous. Scared? Jason taunted. The mighty CEO afraid of a college girl with a fruit stand? Liam's jaw tightened. Fine, one lunch. How much? If you succeed, I'll donate 10 grand to any charity you pick. If you fail, Tyler paused dramatically. You have to publicly admit that money can't buy everything. Deal. The next day, Liam returned to the stall. Sophie was slicing pineapple samples. Mr. Carter, back for more charity work? Actually, I wanted to apologize for yesterday. That was abrupt. Apology accepted. That'll be $2 if you want a sample. He laughed. Fair enough. He placed a $5 bill down. Keep the change. And I was wondering if I could take you to lunch, just to talk. Sophie's knife stopped mid-slice. Let me guess, she said slowly. Your rich friends are watching from that car across the street, and this is some kind of bet. Liam's face went pale. How did you? Because guys like you don't buy $500 of fruit because you're hungry. You do it to feel good about yourselves. And then you come back for round two thinking we're grateful enough to play along. She handed him the pineapple slice. The fruit from yesterday? Consider us even. The lunch invitation? I'll pass. I'm not a dare, Mr. Carter. I'm a person. She turned back to her cutting board. Wait, Your friends are still watching. Go tell them you lost. Liam walked back to the car in stunned silence. Tyler was grinning. What did I say? Rejection looks good on you. She knew, Liam muttered. She knew about the bet. Smart girl, Jason mused. Most people would have taken the free lunch. Liam stared at the fruit stall in his rearview mirror. Sophie was laughing with a customer now, as if he'd never existed. She's not like anyone I've ever met. That's the problem, Tyler said. She's not impressed by you. And that, my friend, is why you can't stop thinking about her. That night, Liam sat in his penthouse staring at the single mango he'd bought before leaving, the only one Sophie had allowed him to purchase. He didn't know her story yet, didn't know about the late nights studying after 12-hour stalls, the scholarships she'd lost, the father who disappeared, or the mother working 2 jobs just to keep her in school. He didn't know that selling fruit wasn't just a side hustle, it was survival. That every dollar she earned carried the weight of a dream too big to abandon and too fragile to trust anyone else with. But he would learn, because some people you meet and forget. And others, they rewrite every rule you thought you knew about yourself. Sophie Miller was about to become the most expensive lesson of Liam Carter's life. And it all started with a basket of fruit and the pride to walk away. The mango sat on Liam's desk for 3 days. He'd meant to eat it. Instead, it became a paperweight, a reminder. Every time he reached for his phone to close another deal, there it was, golden skin slowly ripening, filling his office with a scent that didn't belong in a world of leather chairs and glass walls. Tyler noticed it during their morning strategy meeting. Still thinking about her? I'm thinking about quarterly projections, Liam said flatly. Right, that's why you've checked your watch 6 times in 10 minutes. Jason leaned back, grinning. It's almost noon. Fruit stand time. Drop it. Can't drop it. You lost the bet, remember? Time to pay up. Public admission that money can't buy everything. Liam's jaw tightened. I haven't lost yet. She rejected you in under 60 seconds. That's not a loss, it's a record. One lunch, Liam muttered. The bet was one lunch. She never said I couldn't try again. Tyler and Jason exchanged glances. Oh, this is getting good, Tyler said. How many times are you planning to embarrass yourself? As many as it takes. Day 4. Liam showed up at the stall with an excuse prepared. I'm hosting a corporate luncheon next week, he said casually, inspecting a display of strawberries. Need a fruit supplier, professional arrangement, strictly business. Sophie didn't look up from her calculator. There are 3 wholesale suppliers within 10 miles of your office. Try them. I prefer local vendors. I prefer honest customers. She finally met his eyes. You don't need fruit, Mr. Carter. You need a hobby. He bought 2 apples anyway. Didn't eat them. Day 7. These grapes, Liam said, holding up a bag. Are they organic? Does it matter? Sophie replied, weighing a customer's order. For the office, health-conscious employees. Your office has a cafeteria with a full-time nutritionist. I looked you up. He paused. You looked me up? Had to make sure you weren't a stalker. She handed the customer their change. Verdict's still out. Despite himself, he smiled. So you're saying there's a chance I'm not a stalker? I'm saying you're persistent. There's a difference, Ajayaskum. She finally looked at him directly. Why are you really here? Maybe I like the fruit. Or maybe you like feeling better about yourself by buying from the poor girl. The words hit like a slap. That's not. Have a nice day, Mr. Carter. Day 12, he stopped pretending. I came to apologize, Liam said quietly. The afternoon crowd had thinned. You were right, about the bet, about my friends, about all of it. Sophie's hand stilled over the orange she was peeling. And I was an arrogant idiot who thought he could buy 5 minutes of someone's time because he was bored. That's a start, but I keep coming back because, he trailed off, searching for words that didn't sound rehearsed. Because you're the first person in years who's treated me like I'm just some guy. Not a bank account, not a connection, just someone who occasionally says stupid things. Sophie considered this. You do say a lot of stupid things. I'm aware. For the first time, something softened in her expression. 1 coffee, not lunch, coffee. 30 minutes. And you pay for your own. Deal. Tomorrow, 4 p.m., Campus Cafe. If you're late, the offer expires. I'll be early. She handed him the peeled orange. On the house. Consider it a deposit on your good behavior. Day 13, 3:47 p.m. Liam arrived early, as promised. Tyler and Jason had caught wind of the coffee meeting and were parked across the street, binoculars in hand like teenagers. This is pathetic, Liam muttered into his phone. This is research, Tyler corrected. We need to see if you can last 30 minutes without mentioning your net worth. I'm hanging up. Wait, is that her? But it wasn't Sophie. It was 2 kids, maybe 8 and 10, sitting at a bench near the fruit stall with workbooks spread out. And Sophie was with them, pointing at math problems, her voice patient and clear. Okay, so if the train leaves at 3 p.m. going 60 miles per hour, Liam walked closer, forgetting about the cafe. The younger boy looked up. Are you Sophie's boyfriend? Tommy! Sophie's face flushed. He's not. We're not. I'm just a customer, Liam said quickly. A customer who buys 2 apples every day and never eats them? The older girl said skeptically. Weird. Sophie shot him a look that said, see what you've started? What are you studying? Liam asked, crouching down. Math. It's hard. Tommy frowned at the page. Mind if I help? Sophie opened her mouth to protest, but Liam was already sitting down, explaining the problem in a way that made the kid's face light up. 20 minutes passed. The problems got solved. The kids packed up, thanking them both before running off. You're late for coffee, Sophie said softly. I know. She started packing up her stall. They're my neighbor's kids. Parents work nights. I tutor them when I can. That's... Liam struggled for words. That's incredible. It's just math homework. It's more than that. Sophie shrugged, but he saw the pride in her eyes. the same pride that wouldn't let her take his pity. Listen, Liam said carefully, I know someone at the Scholarship Foundation. They have funding for students like you, full tuition, no strings. I could make a call. No. Sophie, you wouldn't have to sell fruit every day. You could focus on, I said no. Her voice was sharp now. I'm not your charity case, Mr. Carter. I'm not your guilt project. I'm not for sale. That's not what I meant. Yes, it was. She zipped up her bag with finality. You think throwing money at me will fix whatever emptiness you feel? It won't. Some of us work for what we have because it's the only way we learn what we're worth. I was just trying to help. Help? She laughed bitterly. You don't even know me. You know a girl at a fruit stand who makes you feel something, probably pity, maybe guilt. But you don't know the first thing about who I am or what I need. She walked away before he could respond. 10:23 p.m. Liam stood under the streetlight near the empty stall, replaying the conversation. I'm not for sale. Every woman he'd ever known had a price. Not always money. Sometimes it was status, connections, the thrill of being seen with him. But there was always something they wanted. Sophie wanted nothing from him. Correction, she wanted him gone. And somehow that made him want to stay. His phone buzzed. Tyler's text, dude, bet's off, you're in too deep. Abort mission. Liam stared at the message. The bet. He'd forgotten about it entirely the moment he saw her with those kids. The moment she looked at him like he was someone who could still be better. He typed back, agreed. Bet's off. This isn't about that anymore. But even as he sent it, he knew Tyler was right about one thing. He was in too deep. The girl who'd refused his money, rejected his help, and walked away from his apology wasn't just haunting his thoughts anymore. She was rewriting every assumption he'd ever made about what people wanted, about what mattered, about who he was when the suit came off and the wallet stayed closed. Liam looked at the empty space where her stall had been. Some people you meet and forget. Others become the measure of everything that comes after. Sophie Miller was becoming his reckoning. And he had no idea how to win someone over when losing was the only thing that made him feel alive. 3 days of silence. Liam didn't visit the stall, didn't send texts, didn't try to explain himself again. Sophie told herself it was relief. Told herself the empty space where his shadow used to fall each afternoon was exactly what she'd wanted. She almost believed it. Day 4. The email arrived at 6 a.m., formal and impersonal. Ms. Miller, Carter Industries is exploring partnerships with local vendors for our upcoming corporate wellness initiative. Your fruit supply business caught our attention. Would you be available for a consultation lunch this Thursday at 1 p.m. to discuss potential opportunities? Professional meeting. Separate checks. L. Carter, Executive Director. Sophie read it 3 times. Separate checks. He'd learned. She typed and deleted 4 responses before settling on, Thursday works, send address. Thursday, 12:53 p.m. The restaurant had a name Sophie couldn't pronounce, and a doorman who looked at her twice before opening the door. Crystal chandeliers caught the afternoon light, scattering rainbows across white tablecloths. Men in suits spoke in hushed tones. Women in designer dresses picked at salads that cost more than Sophie's weekly grocery budget. She looked down at her cleanest blouse and jeans. Professional meeting, she reminded herself. You belong here. Sophie. Liam stood near a corner table, and for a moment she barely recognized him. No power suit, just a simple button-down, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked, younger, less certain. You came, he said. You promised business. She sat, ignoring the waiter who pulled out her chair. So let's talk business. For 10 minutes they did. Liam outlined the wellness program, fresh fruit delivery to 3 office buildings, twice weekly, premium organic selection. The numbers were fair, almost too fair. This is a real contract, Sophie said, surprised. Did you think I was lying? I thought you were trying to give me charity dressed up as the opportunity. I was. His honesty caught her off guard. At first, but then I actually read your social media. You post about sustainable farming, nutritional education, food access in low-income neighborhoods. You have a vision, Sophie. I'm just offering infrastructure. She studied his face for the catch, found none. Why million? Because good business is good business. He paused. And because you were right, I don't know you. But I'd like to. Before she could respond, the waiter appeared with menus that had no prices. Sophie's stomach tightened. The meal passed in careful conversation. He asked about her studies. She deflected to the business model. She asked about Carter Industries. He deflected to stories about his mother's garden, the one she'd kept before his father's company exploded into empire. She used to say that growing things teaches you patience, Liam said quietly, that you can't rush fruit. It ripens when it's ready, not when you want it to. Sounds like she was wise. She was. Past tense. She didn't live to see what the company became. Sometimes I think that's a blessing. Sophie softened despite herself. You miss her. Every day. He met her size. She would have liked you. She didn't trust people who were too polished. Said rough edges meant someone was real. I have a lot of rough edges. I'm starting to see that as a feature, not a flaw. The bill came in a leather folder. Sophie reached for it immediately. Separate checks, remember? The waiter hesitated, glancing at Liam. The lady asked for her portion, Liam said firmly. Sophie opened the folder. Her half, $63. She pulled out her wallet, the worn canvas one with the broken zipper, and began counting bills and coins onto the table. 2 20s, 3 5s, 4 singles, then quarters, M's, nickels. The waiter's expression flickered between pity and confusion. Liam said nothing. Sophie counted out the exact amount, stacking coins in neat piles. When she finished, she looked up, chin high. $63. We're even. Liam stared at the coins like they were something sacred. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Her voice was steel wrapped in silk. This is who I am, Mr. Carter. I pay my way. Always. He nodded slowly and something in his expression shifted. A wall coming down she hadn't known he'd built. I've never met anyone like you. Good. The world has enough people like you. She meant it as a jab, but he smiled like she'd given him a gift. 5:47 p.m. Sophie met Noah at the campus library, still buzzing from the lunch. So, how was dining with the prince? Noah asked, not looking up from his laptop. It was fine business. Sophie, he finally looked at her. Be careful. It's a vendor contract, Noah. Relax. It's never just business with guys like that. Noah closed his laptop, expression serious. They play with hearts the way we play with pocket change, casually, because they have plenty to spare. You don't even know him. I know his type, rich, bored, looking for something authentic to make them feel human again. And when they're done, they go back to their penthouses and you're left cleaning up the mess. Sophie wanted to argue, couldn't. He's not like that. Maybe, but what if he is? Meanwhile, 12 floors above the city. Liam. Vanessa Price appeared in his office doorway, tablet in hand, smile practiced and perfect. The quarterly report is ready for your review. Email it to me, Liam said absently, staring at his phone. You've been distracted lately. She stepped inside, closing the door. Everything okay? Fine. Because you've turned down 3 networking dinners, skipped the investor gala, and yesterday you left at 5 p.m. You never leave at 5 p.m. Is there a question in there, Vanessa? Her smile tightened. Just concerned. You've been different since you started visiting that fruit stand. Liam looked up sharply. How do you know about that? Tyler mentioned it, said you've been spending your lunch breaks with some vendor. Her tone was light, but her eyes weren't. Just making sure it's not affecting your judgment. My judgment is fine. Good. She lingered at the door. Because people talk, Liam, and the board doesn't love executives getting distracted by charity cases. Vanessa, just advice from a friend. She left before he could respond. 6:23 p.m. Sophie was packing up her stall when the delivery truck arrived. Sophie Miller? That's me. The driver unloaded a wooden crate, the kind used for expensive imports. Inside, perfect peaches from Georgia, organic strawberries, exotic dragon fruit she'd only seen in magazines, and a card. She opened it with shaking hands. For the girl who makes fruit look like art. No signature. Didn't need one. Sophie stood there as the sun dipped below the buildings, holding fruit that cost more than her week's earnings, reading words that shouldn't have made her heart race. Behind her, the empty street. Ahead her tiny apartment in another night of budgeting. In her hands, proof that someone saw her. Not as a charity case or a poor girl or a bet, as an artist. She pressed the card to her chest and let herself smile. Just for a moment. Just enough to be dangerous. Sophie had never been inside a building with its own elevator attendant before. 23rd floor, she told him, clutching the empty fruit crate. He looked at her jeans and canvas bag, then pressed the button without comment. The elevator had mirrors on 3 sides. Sophie watched herself multiply. A girl who didn't belong, repeated infinitely. The doors opened to glass walls, marble floors, and a receptionist whose smile was professionally polite and personally dismissive. Do you have an appointment? I'm here to see Liam, Mr. Carter. Regarding? A delivery. The receptionist's eyes flicked to the crate. Our vendors use the service entrance. I'm not. Sophie stopped herself. Just tell him Sophie Miller is here. 2 minutes later, Liam appeared in the lobby, surprise and something else, pleasure maybe, crossing his face. Sophie, you came. To return your crate and to say thank you. She held it out. The fruit was too much. It was just enough. He took the crate, their fingers brushing. Come to my office, please. His office was all windows and skyline. Sophie stood at the glass, watching the city spread below like a carpet of lights and possibility. You can see everything from up here, she said quietly, except what matters. Liam stood beside her. I can't see your fruit stall from this height. She turned to face him. Why did you send those? Because you called yourself someone with rough edges, like it was an apology. I wanted you to know that some of us see art where you see flaws. The air between them felt charged, dangerous. Liam, I know, I'm not supposed to say things like that. We have a professional relationship now. Vendor contract, separate checks. He stepped closer. But that card wasn't from your client. It was from someone who thinks about you more than he should. Sophie's breath caught. The office door opened. Liam, the board meeting's in. Oh. Vanessa Price stood in the doorway, tablet clutched like a shield, her expression shifting from professional to predatory in half a second. I didn't realize you had company. Vanessa, this is Sophie Miller. She's our new produce vendor for the wellness program. Vendor. Vanessa's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. Of course, I thought maybe you were the new cleaning service. Those clothes, Vanessa, Liam's voice held warning. What? I'm just saying she looks more comfortable with manual labor. Nothing wrong with that. She turned to Sophie, voice dripping false sweetness. It's admirable. Really. Liam's always had a soft spot for charity cases. Last month it was the homeless shelter. This month it's... What did Tyler call you? Oh, right. The fruit girl. Sophie's spine straightened. I should go. No, Sophie, wait. Liam shot Vanessa a look that could freeze fire. Vanessa, get out. Board meeting 5 minutes. Don't be late. Vanessa left, but her perfume lingered like poison. I'm sorry, Liam said immediately. She had no right. She's not wrong, though, is she? Sophie's voice was hollow. I am the charity case of the month, the feel-good story you tell at dinner parties. That's not what you are to me. Then what am I? He opened his mouth, closed it. The silence stretched too long. That's what I thought. Sophie grabbed her bag. The contract's in writing. Keep it professional, Mr. Carter. It's safer that way. She was gone before he could find the words that mattered. 3 days later, campus auditorium. The Carter Industries Scholarship Ceremony was supposed to be Sophie's triumph. Her friend Maya had won the STEM award. But the moment Sophie walked in, she felt eyes following her. Whispers, pointed fingers, phones tilted in her direction. Maya grabbed her arm. Don't look at the student forum. Why would I? Sophie, don't. But she already had her phone out, scrolling to the university message board. Thread, CEO's secret girlfriend sells fruit for tuition. Vanessa Pugh official. Just FYI, the girl Liam Carter's been seeing. Works a fruit stand after class. Guess charity starts at home. 200 comments, screenshots of her stall, memes, jokes about Carter's latest investment. Sophie's hands shook. Breathe, Maya whispered. Just breathe. The ceremony began. Awards were given, speeches made, and then, before we conclude, Vanessa said from the podium, microphone in hand, I want to recognize someone who embodies hard work in a very literal sense. Sophie Miller, could you stand? Sophie froze. Come on, don't be shy. Sophie sells fruit right outside these gates to pay her tuition. Isn't that inspiring? The room erupted, some applauding, others laughing, most whispering. Phones rose like a field of glowing eyes. Maya squeezed her hand. You don't have to. Sophie stood. The room fell silent. She walked to the aisle, head high, and turned to face the crowd. Vanessa's smile was triumphant. In the back row, Liam sat rigid, face drained of color. Yes, Sophie said, voice clear and unwavering. I sell fruit every day after class. Apples, oranges, bananas, whatever I can carry. Vanessa's smile widened, sensing victory. I do it because scholarships don't cover everything, because my mother works 2 hours and I refuse to let her work a third, because I'd rather earn money selling something honest than take handouts from people who want to feel good about themselves. The laughter died. Some of you think that's funny, that working with your hands is beneath you, that people like me are, what did the forums say? Oh, right, charity cases. She looked directly at Vanessa. But at least I know the value of what I sell. At least I earn every dollar through dignity, not gossip. At least when I look in the mirror, I see someone who built what she has, not someone who tears others down to feel tall. Silence. Complete ringing silence. Yes, I sell fruit. That's how I pay for my dreams. Sophie's voice softened. And if that makes you uncomfortable, maybe examine why. Scattered applause began, tentative at first, then growing. Maya was on her feet. Other students joined. But Sophie was looking at Liam. He sat frozen, mouth open, hands gripping the armrests. Not standing, not speaking, not moving. Their eyes met across the auditorium. Say something, her expression begged. Defend me, stand up. But he remained seated, paralyzed by optics or fear or whatever calculations ran through minds like his. And in that moment, Sophie understood. She was brave enough to stand alone. He wasn't brave enough to stand with her. Sophie walked up the aisle, past the applause, past the cameras, past Maya's reaching hand. At the exit, she paused and looked back one last time. Liam had finally stood, but too late, always too late. Vanessa was already surrounded by damage control handlers. And Sophie? Sophie walked out with her spine straight and her head high, carrying the weight of her pride like armor. Her heart, though, that she left bleeding on the auditorium floor, between the empty seat where she'd sat and the man who'd let silence speak louder than love. The campus cafe was crowded at noon, voices blending into white noise. Sophie sat in the back corner with her finance textbook, 3 chapters behind and drowning in formulas she couldn't focus on. 2 days since the auditorium, 2 days of stares and whispers and fame she'd never wanted. Her phone had blown up, interview requests from student papers, a local news segment about the girl who stood up to corporate privilege. Maya said she was a hero. Sophie felt like a fool. She was reaching for her cold coffee when she heard the laughter. Tyler and Jason, 2 tables over, loud and careless. Swear to God, funniest thing I've ever seen. Liam's face when she called him out on the bet. Sophie's hand froze. Dude, I told him to drop it weeks ago, but no, he had to keep playing the knight in shining armor. The fruit girl bet, classic. Remember when we thought he'd never even get her to talk to him? Now look, she's campus famous, and he's basically in hiding. Karma's real, man. Still can't believe she actually fell for it. Poor girl probably thought a guy like Liam Carter actually cared. Their laughter cut like glass. Sophie stood slowly, the world tilting sideways. The bet. The bet was real. Not just the lunch invitation. All of it. Every visit to her stall. Every conversation. Every moment she'd let herself believe that maybe, impossibly, someone like him could see someone like her. All of it. A game. She left her books on the table and walked out into the autumn air that suddenly felt too thin to breathe. 6:17 p.m. Liam was leaving his office when he saw her in the lobby. Sophie stood by the elevators, still in her cafe clothes, face pale and expression carved from stone. Sophie, relief flooded through him. I've been trying to call. Was I a bet? The word stopped him cold. What? Simple question. Yes or no? Was I a bet? People were staring. The receptionist, late shift employees, the security guard. Liam took her arm gently, guiding her toward his office. She yanked free. Don't touch me. Please, just let me explain. Yes or no, Liam. He could lie. Should lie. The truth would destroy everything. But she deserved the truth. Yes. The word hung in the air like smoke from a fire neither of them could put out. Sophie nodded slowly, lips pressed together. Okay, thank you for being honest. Sophie, wait. It started as a stupid dare, but it stopped being that the second I actually talked to you. When? Her voice cracked. When did it stop being a bet? After the first week? The second? When you sent those expensive fruits? When you defended me in the auditorium? Oh, wait, you didn't do that. That's not fair. None of this is fair. Her composure shattered. You made me a joke, Liam. You and your rich friends sat around and decided I'd be entertaining. The poor fruit girl. Let's see if the CEO can make her like him. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Enlighten me. Because from where I'm standing, I was a dare first. Then what? A charity project? A feel-good story you could tell at board meetings? You were a lesson, he said desperately. You taught me that everything I thought I knew about people was wrong, that authenticity matters more than appearances, that dignity isn't something you buy, it's something you earn. So I was a dare, then a lesson. Tears finally spilled over. Congratulations, Mr. Carter. You learned something. I'm so glad my humiliation could contribute to your personal growth. Sophie, please. She reached into her bag and pulled out something blue. The scarf he'd bought her after she'd mentioned being cold at the stall. The one she'd worn every evening for weeks. Take it. No. Take it. She shoved it at his chest. I don't want anything from you. Not the scarf, not the contract, not the memories. Especially not the memories. Liam held the fabric like it was made of broken glass. My feelings are real. Whatever started this, what I feel now is real. How would I know? Sophie's voice dropped to a whisper. How would I ever know if anything about us was real? Every conversation, every moment, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if you meant it or if you were just playing your part really, really well. I meant every word. You meant to win a bet, and I ended up losing everything that matters. She stepped back, creating distance that felt like miles. You didn't lose anything, Liam. You can't lose what you never really had. I was just a story you were telling yourself. The poor girl who made you feel something. Well, story's over. Find another one. Sophie, we're done. Stay away from my stall. Stay away from me, her voice broke. And next time you want to play with someone's heart, make sure they know it's a game first. She walked away, and this time he didn't follow. Couldn't follow. The scarf in his hand smelled like citrus and hope in everything he'd destroyed. 2 weeks later, Liam stopped going to social events, stopped pretending small talk mattered. His office became a fortress, 18-hour days, weekends bleeding into weekdays, deals and acquisitions and expansion plans that filled the spaces where thoughts of her used to live. Tyler tried once. Man, you need to let it go. Get out, Jason tried once. We didn't mean for it to blow up like this. I said get out, his father called from Singapore. The Tokyo office needs leadership. 6 months, maybe a year. Interested? Liam looked at his empty penthouse, the mango long since rotted, still sitting on his desk like a shrine to his own stupidity. Book my flight. Meanwhile, Sophie sold her stall. The decision took 3 sleepless nights, but the logic was clear. Every hour spent selling fruit was an hour not spent studying, networking, building something bigger than survival. She took the money and enrolled in a small business course, got a part-time job at a catering company, Less visible, better pay, real experience. Stop checking her phone for messages that would never come. Stop looking for silver sedans that had stopped arriving. Noah took her for coffee one day. You okay? I'm fine. Sophie, I am fine, Noah. I was someone's charity case, then I wasn't. Life goes on. You loved him. I loved who I thought he was. She stirred her coffee methodically. Turns out I'm really good at loving imaginary people. That's not on you. No, it's on me. I knew better. I knew people like him don't care about people like me. Not really, but I let myself believe anyway. She met his eyes. I won't make that mistake again. 3 months later, Maya found Sophie in the library, surrounded by business plan drafts. He left. Sophie didn't look up. Who? You know who, Liam Carter. His company announced it this morning, overseas expansion. He's running the Asian division. Won't be back for at least a year. Sophie's pen stilled for just a moment, then continued moving across the page. Good for him. Sophie, I mean it. I hope he does well. I hope he learns whatever he needs to learn. I hope Tokyo or Shanghai or wherever teaches him that people aren't puzzles to solve or bets to win. And you? Sophie finally looked up, and Maya saw something in her friend's eyes that hadn't been there before. Not hardness exactly, but an edge that hadn't existed when she'd sold fruit and believed in silver linings. Me, I'm going to build something so good, so undeniable, that the next time someone thinks I'm just a charity case, I can laugh in their face. She went back to her business plan. Maya squeezed her shoulder and left her to it. Liam Carter flew to Tokyo with a scarf in his luggage that he couldn't throw away. Sophie Miller threw herself into work with a heart she refused to acknowledge was broken. Between them, miles of ocean, months of silence, and a lesson neither would forget. Some people teach you about love. Others teach you about loss. The expensive lessons, the ones that cost you everything, teach you both. And some lessons are too expensive to learn twice. 3 years later, the city looked the same from the top floor of Carter Industries. Same grid of streets, same rhythm of traffic, same skyline piercing the clouds. But Liam Carter was different. CEO now, not executive, not director. The name at the top of every memo, every contract, every decision that shaped the company his grandfather had built and his father had globalized. Tokyo had hardened him. Shanghai had sharpened him. 3 years of 18-hour days in hotel rooms that all looked the same had taught him how to lead without feeling, how to win without wanting anything beyond the next victory. He'd become exactly what his father had always wanted, and he'd never been more empty. The gala starts at 7, his assistant reminded him, setting down the evening's briefing. Catering contract signing with the new vendor. Photos for the press release. Speech at 8:30. The vendor's name? Fruit Haven. Local company. Excellent reputation. They've catered for the Marriott, the Hilton, 2 mayoral events. The owner built it from scratch. Real bootstrap story. PR loves it. Liam nodded absently, already thinking about the Tokyo merger that needed his attention. He didn't ask who owned Fruit Haven, didn't think to ask. 3 years was long enough to stop thinking about fruit stands and girls who'd walked away. Or so he told himself. Meanwhile, across the city, Sophie Miller stood in her commercial kitchen, surveying the controlled chaos with the calm of someone who'd earned every inch of space she occupied. Table 7 needs the chocolate-dipped strawberries in 5 minutes, she called out. Make sure the presentation matches the photos we sent. The Carter Gala isn't the place for shortcuts. Her sous chef Marco gave a thumbs up. Fruit displays are loaded. Sculptures look perfect. You really outdid yourself, boss. Sophie smiled, adjusting her tailored chef's coat, black with Fruit Haven embroidered in gold thread over her heart. 3 years ago, she'd been counting coins at a street stall. Now she was commanding a staff of 12, running a business that had 5-star hotels on retainer, and about to cater the biggest corporate event of the season. Final check, she said. Maya, are the serving platters polished? Her business partner, yes, Maya had quit her engineering track to join the dream, nodded from the loading dock. Immaculate. Trucks leave in 10. Then let's show Carter Industries what we're made of. She grabbed her keys, her tablet, and the confidence she'd built dollar by dollar rejection by rejection, dream by dream. She didn't think about the man whose company was hosting tonight, didn't let herself think about silver sedans or scarves or moments when she'd been foolish enough to believe. That girl was gone. This woman had work to do. 7:42 p.m. The Grand Ballroom. The Carter Industries annual gala was precision and excess in equal measure. Crystal chandeliers worth more than most people's houses. A string quartet playing something classical and expensive. 500 guests in designer everything, holding champagne flutes and networking with the intensity of sharks circling prey. Liam moved through it all with practiced ease, shaking hands, making small talk, smiling the smile that photographs well but means nothing. Congratulations on the promotion, someone said. Tokyo was transformative, he replied automatically. The new vendors' displays are stunning, someone else mentioned. We aim for excellence, Liam said, not really listening. He was mid-conversation with a board member when the kitchen doors opened, and the world tilted sideways. She appeared like a vision. No, not a vision. Visions weren't that solid, that real, that impossibly present. Sophie Miller walked into the ballroom in a crisp black chef's coat and slacks, tablet in one hand, confidence in every step. Her hair was pulled back in a professional twist. Her face had lost the softness of struggle, replaced by the sharp angles of someone who'd fought and won. She was giving instructions to her staff, pointing at tables, directing placement with the authority of someone who knew exactly what she'd built and what it was worth. Liam forgot how to breathe. She moved between the fruit displays, elaborate sculptures of pineapples and melons, chocolate fountains surrounded by strawberries and kiwi, artistic arrangements that looked like paintings made of produce. Someone touched his arm. Mr. Carter, the photographer is ready for the contract signing. The what? The catering contract with Fruit Haven? Reality crashed back. Fruit Haven. The vendor was Sophie. His assistant appeared, gesturing toward a small stage where photographers were setting up. Just need you and the owner for the ceremonial signing. Great publicity. Young CEO, young entrepreneur, partnership for growth. 5 minutes tops. Liam couldn't move. Across the ballroom, Sophie checked her tablet, nodded at something Maya said, then turned toward the stage. Their eyes met. 3 years collapsed into a single moment. He saw recognition flicker across her face, a brief crack in the professional mask. Surprise, then something harder, calculation maybe, or walls going up so fast he could hear them slam. She said something to Maya, straightened her coat, lifted her chin, and walked toward him. Every step was measured, confident, nothing like the girl who'd sold fruit to pay tuition. Everything like the woman who'd stood in an auditorium and refused to apologize for her dignity. She stopped 3 feet away. The noise of the gala faded, the music, the voices, the clinking glasses. There was only her. Good evening, Mr. Carter. Her voice was professional, polite, absolutely devoid of warmth. Liam opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I'm Sophie Miller, owner of Fruit Haven. She extended her hand like they were strangers. Thank you for choosing our company for tonight's event. He took her hand automatically. Her grip was firm, brief, businesslike. She pulled away before he could process the electric shock of touching her again. Sophie, his voice came out rough. I didn't know that I owned the company. A slight smile touched her lips, sharp as a blade. Why would you? I'm sure you meet dozens of vendors. We all blur together after a while. No, I meant the contract is straightforward. 5 events over the next year, pricing as discussed, termination clause standard. Shall we sign so the photographers can get their shots? She was already moving toward the small table set up for the ceremony, not waiting for his response. Liam followed numb. The assistant handed him a pen. Photographers positioned themselves. Sophie stood on the other side of the table, every inch the successful entrepreneur, smiling for the cameras with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. On 3, the photographer said. 1, 2, Liam signed. Sophie signed. Flashbulbs popped like small explosions. Great! Now shake hands. Both of you looking at each other. Perfect! Her hand in his again, her eyes meeting his, and in them he saw everything she'd become in his absence. Strong, successful, untouchable. And absolutely, completely done with him, the photographer finished. Sophie withdrew her hand immediately. Pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Carter. My team will handle the rest of the evening. Enjoy your gala. She turned to leave. Sophie Brown, wait. She paused, looked back over her shoulder. Yes? A thousand things he wanted to say crowded his throat. I'm sorry, I was wrong. You're magnificent. I never forgot you. I kept your picture. I dreamed about you in Tokyo. I came back hoping the displays are beautiful. Her expression didn't change. Thank you. That's what you paid for. She walked away back toward her team, leaving him standing by a table full of contracts and cameras and the wreckage of words he couldn't say. From across the ballroom, Liam watched her work. She moved with purpose, adjusting a centerpiece, consulting with a server, laughing at something Marco said. In her element, in her empire. The girl who'd counted coins to pay for lunch now commanded rooms. The girl who'd sold fruit for tuition now fed the city's elite. The girl he'd lost had become the woman he could never deserve. Maya noticed him staring, whispered something to Sophie. Sophie glanced his way one last time. Their eyes locked across champagne flutes and designer dresses in the 3 years that stood between them like an ocean. She didn't smile, didn't frown, just looked at him with the calm assessment of someone evaluating a business prospect, calculating value, measuring worth, deciding if the investment was sound. Then she turned away and got back to work. Liam stood frozen, champagne in hand, surrounded by celebration, feeling more alone than he'd felt in Tokyo at 3 a.m. with only his regrets for company. He'd spent 3 years becoming the CEO. She'd spent 3 years becoming untouchable. And the distance between them had never been wider. The email arrived at 6 a.m., 3 days after the gala. Subject, Fruit Haven Partnership. Logistics discussion. Ms. Miller, Carter Industries would like to discuss expanding our partnership beyond the initial contract. Would you be available for a meeting Thursday at 10 a.m.? My office or yours, your preference. Liam Carter, CEO. Sophie stared at the screen, coffee cooling in her hand. Maya leaned over her shoulder. Are you going to go? It's business. Sophie, it's business, Maya. We have a contract. He wants to expand it. That's called growth. That's called an excuse to see you. Sophie closed her laptop. Then he'll be disappointed because the girl he knew doesn't exist anymore. But she typed back, Thursday 10 a.m., my office, come alone. Thursday 9:58 a.m. Liam stood outside Fruit Haven's headquarters, a renovated warehouse in the Arts District, all exposed brick and industrial windows. Nothing like the sterile corporate spaces he occupied. The sign above the door was hand-painted, did Fruit Haven, where every meal tells a story. He recognized Sophie's voice in those words. Inside, the space was organized chaos. Commercial kitchen on one side, office area on the other, a small showroom displaying their catering portfolios. Photographs lined the walls, weddings, corporate events, charity dinners. And in the center, framed and spotlit, a photo of a small street stall with a handwritten sign, fresh fruit, fair prices, big dreams. That's where it started. Sophie appeared from the office dressed in casual business attire, hair down, no chef's coat. She looked younger this way, more like the girl he remembered, but her eyes were all business. My first stall, she continued, gesturing at the photo. I kept it as a reminder. When things get hard, I look at that and remember what hard actually means. It's perfect, Liam said softly. It's honest. She moved past him toward the conference room. Shall we? The meeting table was reclaimed wood. Coffee in mismatched mugs, not china. Everything about the space screamed authenticity. Everything he'd learned to value too late. So, Sophie opened her tablet. You mentioned expanding the partnership. What did you have in mind? Sophie, business first, Mr. Carter. That's how this works now. He nodded, accepting the boundary. Carter Industries is launching a corporate wellness initiative. 5 buildings, 3,000 employees. We want to provide daily fresh fruit, healthy catering for meetings, nutrition education programs. It's a 2-year contract, worth about $500,000. Sophie's expression didn't flicker. Send the proposal to my business email. I'll review it with my team. That's it? What else would there be? I thought we could talk. About what? The weather? Old times? Her voice was cool. Mr. Carter, I'm not interested in nostalgia. If the contract makes sense, we'll sign. If it doesn't, we won't. That's business. I didn't come here for business. Then you wasted your time. I came to apologize. Silence stretched between them like a wire pulled too tight. I'm listening, Sophie said finally. Liam set down his untouched coffee. 3 years ago, I was an arrogant idiot who thought money and charm could get me anything. My friends made a bet, and I took it because I was bored and stupid and had never been told no in my life. I know all this, but you don't know what happened after. He leaned forward. You don't know that I fired Tyler and Jason the day I got back from Tokyo, that I restructured the company's charitable giving because I finally understood the difference between publicity and actual help, that I spent 3 years trying to become someone who deserved. Stop, Sophie's voice was sharp. Don't do that. Don't make me responsible for your redemption arc. You don't get to use me as the catalyst for your personal growth and expect me to be grateful. That's not what I'm doing. Yes, it is. She stood, pacing to the window. You want me to hear how you changed, how I taught you lessons, how our time together made you a better person. But Liam, I built this. She gestured at the space around them. From the fruits you once mocked, from the coins you once pitied, from the dignity you thought could be bought with expensive scarves and charity. I never mocked you. You made me a bet. Her composure cracked. You looked at my life and saw entertainment, a challenge, something to win and then walk away from when it got complicated. And I was wrong. Liam stood, voice raw. I was completely, devastatingly wrong. You weren't a bet or a lesson or a story. You were the first real thing I'd ever touched in my entire artificial life. And I destroyed it because I was too much of a coward to stand with you when it mattered. Sophie turned away, arms crossed. And now I'm still a coward. But I'm a coward who spent 3 years in hotels that all look the same. Wondering if you ever thought about me, if you hated me, if you'd become everything I knew you could be. His voice dropped. And seeing you at that gala, owning every room you walked into, Sophie, I've never been more terrified or more proud in my life. Before she could respond, Maya burst through the door. Sophie, we have a problem. The press is here. Someone tipped them off about the Carter expansion contract. They want a statement. What? Why would they? Because Liam Carter's first major initiative as CEO is partnering with a local success story. Maya's eyes were bright with excitement. This is huge for us, but we need to give them something now or they'll write their own narrative. Sophie looked at Liam. Did you plan this? No, but he straightened his jacket. We should give them what they want. Together. The parking lot had become a makeshift press conference. 6 reporters, 3 cameras, a cluster of microphones. Mr. Carter, is it true you're investing $500,000 in Fruit Haven? Ms. Miller, how does it feel to go from street vendor to Carter Industries' preferred caterer? Is there a personal connection between? I'll take this, Liam said, stepping forward. Sophie stood beside him, professional mask firmly in place. Fruit Haven isn't just a vendor. They're a partner. Liam's voice carried authority. 3 years ago, I learned that real value isn't about capital or connections. It's about integrity and vision. Sophie Miller has both. She built a company from nothing because she understood something I had to learn the hard way, that dignity and determination are worth more than any inheritance. He turned to look at her. Carter Industries is proud to support a business that reflects what we should have valued all along, authentic excellence. The cameras flashed. Reporters shouted follow-ups. But Sophie was staring at him, something shifting in her expression. Ms. Miller, any comment? She found her voice. When I started selling fruit to pay my tuition, I never imagined I'd be standing here. But I also never compromised who I was to get here. If this partnership represents Carter Industries' commitment to supporting businesses built on integrity, then yes, I'm proud to accept. More flashes, more questions. Maya ushered them back inside. In the quiet of the conference room, they stood by the window watching the reporters disperse. You meant that, Sophie said. What you said out there. Every word. The old Liam would have made it about himself, about Carter Industries' generosity. The old Liam didn't understand that some people don't need saving. They need to be seen. Sophie turned to face him, and for the first time since the gala, her walls lowered just slightly. You hurt me. I know. You made me question everything I'd let myself feel. I know. And now you're back, saying the right things, and I don't know if it's real or if you've just gotten better at the game. Liam stepped closer. Not too close, but close enough. 3 years ago, I looked at you and saw someone fascinating. Someone different. Someone I wanted to understand like you were a puzzle to solve. Sophie's breath caught. Now? He met her eyes. Now I see someone who built an empire from dignity, who turned pain into purpose, who proved that the person I thought I was helping didn't need me at all. She needed me to get out of the way so she could become exactly this. A tear slipped down Sophie's cheek. She wiped it away quickly. You finally learned to see, she whispered. Not just look. And what I see, Liam said softly, is the most extraordinary woman I've ever known, who doesn't need my money or my influence or my apologies, who just needs me to be honest enough to admit I've spent 3 years trying to become someone worthy of a second chance I don't deserve. Across the parking lot, visible through the window, Vanessa Price sat in her car, demoted to regional manager, watching the press conference aftermath with bitter recognition of roads not taken. But inside Fruit Haven, Sophie and Liam stood in the space between what was and what might be, forgiveness hanging in the air like fruit just beginning to ripen. I'm not ready to trust you, Sophie said. I know, and I won't go backward. That girl you met, she's gone. Good, because the man you met is gone too. Liam's voice was steady, but maybe these two new people could start over, slowly, honestly, no bets, no games, just two people trying to figure out if the thing that broke them could heal them instead. Sophie looked at him for a long moment, then extended her hand. Business partners. For now. He took it, holding her gaze. For now. And in that handshake, professional, careful, weighted with 3 years of growth and pain and possibility, something began to bloom. Not love, not yet, but the first seed of forgiveness. And sometimes that's how the best things grow. The invitation came 2 weeks into their professional partnership. Not an email this time, a handwritten note delivered with her morning coffee order. There's something I'd like to show you, somewhere that matters. Saturday, if you're willing, no business, just truth. Sophie held the card for a long time, tracing the handwriting that was less polished than she'd expected. More human. Maya found her staring at it. What's that? A question I'm not sure how to answer. Is it from him? Sophie nodded. Then the question isn't whether you should go, Maya said gently. It's whether you're ready to. Saturday, 9:47 a.m. The orchard was an hour outside the city, hidden behind hills that rolled like waves frozen in green. Liam's car, not the silver sedan, something older and more worn, pulled up to a gate with a faded sign. Carter Family Orchard, established 1952. Sophie stepped out, and the air smelled like earth and possibility. My grandfather planted the first trees, Liam said, opening the gate. My mother added everything else. She said this was where she came when the world got too loud. They walked through rows of apple trees, some ancient and gnarled, others young and reaching. Late autumn meant most fruit had been harvested, but a few stragglers hung like golden ornaments. I haven't been here in 4 years, Liam admitted. After she died, my father wanted to sell it, turn it into a development or a corporate retreat. I bought it from him instead. He touched the bark of an old tree. I couldn't let it become another thing we destroyed for profit. Why are you showing me this? He stopped walking, turned to face her. Because this is the only place where I learned to be honest, where I couldn't hide behind money or titles or the person everyone expected me to be. His voice dropped. And because I want you to know the man I came from before I became the one who hurt you. They walked in silence, following a path that wound through the orchard toward a small house. Weathered wood, wraparound porch, windows that caught the morning light. She lived here her last 2 years, Liam said. Refused treatment that might have bought her more time because she said she'd rather have quality than quantity. He sat on the porch steps. I didn't understand it then. Thought she was giving up. Sophie sat beside him, not too close, but close enough. Now I think she was teaching me that some things can't be bought. That grace isn't about more time, it's about using the time you have to matter. He looked at his hands. I failed that lesson spectacularly with you. Liam, let me finish, please. He took a breath. When you walked away from me in that auditorium, I felt something I'd never felt before. Not embarrassment or wounded pride, those came later. In that moment, I felt the full weight of what I'd done, how I'd treated your dignity like a commodity, your trust like a game. His voice cracked. And then you disappeared, sold your stall, changed your number, built a whole life I wasn't part of. And I sat in Tokyo hotels at 3 in the morning staring at my phone, knowing I had no right to call even if I had your number. The guilt was a weight I carried everywhere. The loneliness was the punishment I deserved. Sophie's throat tightened. You think I wasn't lonely? I think you were too busy surviving to be lonely. You're wrong, she turned to face him. I was furious at first, then heartbroken, then determined, because determination was safer than feeling. I worked 16-hour days because sleeping meant dreaming, and dreaming meant remembering, and remembering meant, she trailed off. Meant what? Meant admitting that some part of me missed you, even when I hated you, even when I swore I was done. There was this stupid, stubborn part of my heart that kept checking for silver sedans at red lights. Liam's eyes glistened. Sophie, the pain became my fuel, she continued. Every time someone doubted me or looked at my business like it was cute instead of serious, I remembered standing in that auditorium, remembered how it felt to be humiliated, and I channeled every ounce of that into proving I was more than anyone's bet, or charity case, or feel-good story. You turned agony into empire. I turned your abandonment into my foundation. She met his eyes. So yes, you hurt me. But that hurt made me build something nobody could ever take away. The sun was setting when they finally moved from the porch to walk deeper into the orchard. Twilight painted everything gold and purple, and the air turned cool enough that Sophie wrapped her arms around herself. Without a word, Liam shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. I'm not cold, she protested weakly. I know, but some gestures aren't about need. They reached the oldest tree, massive and ancient, its branches spreading like a cathedral ceiling. My mother proposed to my father under this tree, Liam said she wanted to be sure he understood she was choosing him, not waiting to be chosen. She sounds like she was remarkable. She was. He turned to Sophie. She would have loved you. Not the successful you or the struggling you, just you. The woman who pays for her own meals in coins because dignity matters more than convenience. Sophie felt something crack inside her chest, not breaking, but opening. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Do what? Let you back in. Trust that it's real. Believe that 3 years changed you the way they changed me. Then don't believe it. Liam stepped closer. Test it. Challenge it. Make me prove it every single day until you're certain. I'll wait as long as it takes. That could be years. I wasted 3 running from what I felt. I'll spend the rest making up for it if that's what you need. The moonlight caught in his eyes, and Sophie saw something there she'd never seen before. Not charm or calculation or practiced sincerity. Vulnerability, raw and absolute. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too. What if we mess this up again? Then we'll mess it up honestly. No bets, no games, just 2 people trying to build something real from the ruins of what almost was. Sophie reached up, touching his face, the first time she'd touched him intentionally in 3 years. You're different. So are you. Maybe that's the point. She smiled through tears. Maybe we had to become these versions before we could work. Sophie, she kissed him. Not the desperate kiss of young attraction. Not the passionate collision of bodies seeking escape. This was the kiss of two people who'd been broken and rebuilt, who'd learned that love isn't about completing each other, but choosing to grow beside each other. It tasted like forgiveness, impossibility, and the bittersweet recognition that some things need to die before they can truly live. When they pulled apart, both were crying. "I don't want to own your dream," Liam said against her forehead. "I don't want to fund it or fix it or make it part of my empire." "Then what do you want?" "To grow beside it, to watch you build kingdoms and cheer from wherever you need me, behind you, beside you, in the audience. To be your partner, not your patron." Sophie laughed through tears. "That's the first smart thing you've ever offered me." "I'm a slow learner, but I get there eventually." They walked back through the orchard as night fully settled, hand in hand, speaking in the comfortable silence of people who'd said everything that mattered. At the gate, Liam reached up and plucked an apple from one of the stragglers, perfectly ripe, golden in the moonlight. "For you," he said, placing it in her palm. Sophie held it, feeling the weight of the metaphor and the memory. An apple from the man who'd once tried to buy her entire stall. An apple freely given with no price tag or expectation. An apple that represented not where they'd been, but where they were choosing to go. "It's perfect," she whispered. "So are you." "I'm really not." "No," Liam agreed, smiling. "But your imperfections are the parts I love most." Sophie looked at the apple, then at him, then at the orchard spreading behind them like a promise. Some stories begin with attraction, others with ambition or chance or calculation. But the ones that last, the ones that matter, begin the moment two people choose truth over comfort and growth over easy answers. This was their beginning. Finally, honestly, whole. 6 months later. The press release went out at dawn. Carter Industries and Fruit Haven announced merger. New social enterprise, Harvest and Heart, to support student entrepreneurs nationwide. By noon, the phones were ringing off the hook. By evening, the story had gone viral. Not because a CEO had partnered with a small business, but because of what that partnership meant. Harvest and Heart wasn't charity. It was revolution disguised as produce, zero-interest microloans for student vendors, free business training, mentorship from successful entrepreneurs. And at the center of it all, a network of renovated kiosks replacing street stalls, giving working students dignity and infrastructure instead of pity. The first kiosk would open tomorrow, on the exact corner where Sophie Miller had once sold fruit to pay her tuition. Opening day, 8:47 a.m. Sophie stood before the transformed space and barely recognized it. Where her wooden table had stood, there was now a modern kiosk, glass panels, refrigeration units, digital payment systems, but designed to feel warm, human, approachable. Solar panels on the roof, a hand-painted sign, Harvest and Heart Student Vendor 001, and beside it, a bronze plaque, in memory of every student who chose dignity over despair, work over pity, and dreams over doubt. This space is yours. Make it count. "You're crying," Liam said softly, appearing beside her with 2 coffees. "I'm remembering." Sophie wiped her eyes. "I used to stand right there watching people walk past, counting sales, doing homework between customers, wondering if I'd ever be more than the fruit girl. And now I'm the woman who employs 12 people, caters for governors, and built something that matters." She turned to him. "But I still remember her. The girl who was tired and scared and one bad week away from dropping out. She's why this exists," Liam gestured at the kiosk. "She's why any of this matters." By 10 a.m., a crowd had gathered. Students, reporters, local officials. Maya was coordinating with the first vendor, a sophomore named James who sold handmade jewelry to cover textbooks. "This is insane," James kept saying, staring at the equipment. "I don't have to worry about rain or theft or—" "You just have to worry about your business," Sophie told him. "That's hard enough." The mayor arrived. Camera crews set up. Someone handed Sophie a microphone. She hadn't prepared a speech. Didn't need to. 3 years ago, I stood on this corner with a folding table and a prayer," she began. "I sold fruit because it was honest work that let me stay in school. Some people walked past, Some people bought from me. And one person, she glanced at Liam, bought everything I had and changed both our lives. Scattered laughter from the crowd. But this isn't about romance or redemption arcs. It's about the hundreds of students in this city who are working two jobs, skipping meals, choosing between textbooks and rent. They don't need our pity. They need infrastructure, opportunity, a chance to build without being broken first. She gestured to the kiosk. Harvest and Heart isn't charity, it's investment in people who've already proven they'll fight for their future. We're just making the fight a little less brutal. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. A reporter called out, "Mr. Carter, what made you believe in this project?" Liam stepped forward, and Sophie saw the man he'd become, not the arrogant executive who'd bought her stall on a dare, but someone humbled by love and failure and the long road back to worth. "Sophie sold fruit to buy her future," he said simply. "I just bought a chance to be part of it." More applause. More questions. But Sophie was watching James carefully arrange his jewelry in the new display case, his hands shaking with the weight of possibility finally within reach. That's why, she thought. That's what it was all for. Noon, after the ceremony. The crowds had dispersed. The cameras had packed up. James was making his first sale in his new kiosk, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Sophie and Liam stood at the corner, watching the lunch rush flow past. "Your mother would be proud of this," Sophie said. "She'd be proud of you." The orchard was her way of growing things. "This is yours." Sophie reached into her bag and pulled out a small basket, the kind she'd used years ago. She'd filled it that morning with apples, oranges, a few perfect strawberries. Without a word, she placed it on a bench near the kiosk with a handwritten sign, "Free fruit, pay it forward." Liam watched a construction worker take an apple, read the sign, and then add $1 to the basket for the next person. "Seeds," Sophie said softly. "What?" "My mother used to say that kindness is seeds. You plant them not knowing what will grow, but trusting that something will." She took his hand. "You planted seeds 3 years ago. Clumsy, selfish seeds that you didn't even know you were planting. And they grew into this? They grew into us learning that we needed to become better soil first." A young woman approached the basket, college-aged, textbooks under one arm, looking exhausted. She took an orange, read the sign, and her eyes filled with tears. She reached for her wallet, found only a few coins, and carefully placed them in the basket. Sophie recognized that look, that calculation. "Can I spare this? Do I deserve this?" She walked over. "The fruit's free. That's what pay it forward means." The girl looked up, startled. "I know, but I wanted to contribute something." "You already are, by taking what you need when you need it. That's how this works." The girl nodded, clutching the orange like it was more than fruit. "Thank you." She walked away and Sophie returned to Liam. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm perfect." She leaned against him, watching the city move around them. "Do you ever think about the day we met? How different everything would be if you'd walked past instead of stopped?" "Every day." "Do you regret it? The bet, the mistakes, all of it?" Liam was quiet for a moment. "I regret the pain, but I can't regret the path. Because that path led to you becoming this." He gestured at the kiosk, the basket, the vision made real, and me becoming someone who deserves to stand beside it. "You think you deserve me now?" "No, but I'm working toward it every day." Sophie smiled. "Good answer." As the afternoon sun angled through the buildings, painting everything gold, they walked away from the kiosk hand in hand. Behind them, the basket of fruit caught the light, a symbol of everything they'd learned and everything they'd become. A businessman in a suit took an apple and left a 20. A student took a banana and left a handwritten note. "Thank you for seeing us." A mother took strawberries for her children and left a prayer. The basket emptied and filled, emptied and filled, a cycle of giving and receiving that would continue long after Sophie and Liam had left. "You know what the best part is?" Sophie said as they reached Liam's car. "What's that?" "That girl who sold fruit for tuition? She gets to rest now. She built something that will keep growing without her having to pour every ounce of herself into survival. She earned that rest. We both did." Liam opened her door, then paused. Sophie? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For not forgiving me too quickly, for making me earn it, for becoming exactly who you were meant to be, even when, especially when, it meant leaving me behind. Sophie cupped his face. You know what I learned? What? Love doesn't begin when you're ready. She smiled. It begins when you least deserve it and changes you until you do. They drove away as the sun set behind the city skyline. In the kiosk, James made another sale. On the bench, the fruit basket waited for the next person who needed to know they weren't alone. And on that corner where a girl once stood counting coins and dreaming impossible dreams, a new generation of fighters began writing their own stories. Some with fruit, some with jewelry, some with art or music or ideas that hadn't found their shape yet. But all of them standing on the foundation that Sophie Miller had built from dignity and determination, and the refusal to apologize for wanting more. The fruit stall was gone, but what it represented, the courage to start small, the pride to work hard, the audacity to dream big, would grow in that corner forever. Seeds planted by a girl who sold fruit, watered by a man who learned humility, harvested by hundreds who would never know their names but would carry their lesson forward. That worth isn't given, it's grown. That love isn't bought, it's earned. That sometimes the smallest beginnings yield the most extraordinary harvests, and that some stories don't end. They just keep bearing fruit. Love doesn't begin when you're ready. It begins when you least deserve it and changes you until you do.